We're very close to finally playing Hogwarts Legacy, and Avalanche found the perfect time to drop a massive launch trailer. There's lots to unpack here in terms of brand new footage, new gameplay details, and a lot more new upgrades I've noticed compared to some of the old versions of the game. As always, a thumbs up on this video would be awesome, and let's jump right in. Now, the trailer starts with the entrance in Hogsmeade overlooking the Hogwarts castle in the background, and I'm actually surprised they are so close to one another in-game. I guess it's going to be convenient since we'll want to drop by often for all the exclusive vendors in the area, but I was expecting it to be a bit like further away. Nothing bad about that, but speaking of Hogsmeade, it seems we'll have at least one encounter with Rookwood in this place, or at least that's what the footage implies. In this first shot, he is finding the player just as he's likely enjoying a pint of butterbeer at the bar, but by the dialogue, he seems to already be familiar with our secret powers. Also interesting to note is that in the scene from the first gameplay reveal, he similarly approaches the player on the streets of Hogsmeade, though he does so during the summer season, while in the new trailer footage, this one, the same actual scene plays during the winter. So I'm not sure if this is a direct plot decision to change it from summer to winter, or if it's possible that in this footage, maybe somebody waited for a bit longer before playing this mission, maybe until the seasons have changed. We do know, however, that seasons are closely tied to the narrative progress, so I'm guessing it's the former. Another very big detail I spotted is the fact that in the old shot, the player wasn't carrying anything in the left hand, while in the new one, it's clear that he's carrying a wand box. And this makes me believe that the scene with Rookwood happens right after this scene right here that appears to show the player at likely the Ollivander shop just as we're about to obtain a brand new wand. I'm not sure if it's the first one or a second one or whatever it is, but looking at the color of the two boxes, it definitely seems to be the same one that is played later in the Rookwood encounter. However, that ends up looking like in-game we do have another change and an extra scene of the troll attack that appears to also happen in Hogsmeade, and in the new footage it did get some massive upgrades. This scene plays about the same, but now the armor is more shiny and painted in a more noticeable red color compared to the gray one before. And also the red glow in its eyes appear much stronger as well, contributing to a much more menacing look. Fully expecting this to be an early on fight maybe, since the player relating this very incident to us in the gameplay demos that were played last week. So what if this is kind of like the first encounter that we get to fight against in Hogwarts Legacy? But speaking of the school, here's a more extensive shot of the Grand Hall, and it looks much more incredible, like with each and every single new shot. I think it's the only actual gameplay shot of the floating candles besides the cinematic trailers we had up until this point, so it definitely looks spacious enough. This was also the same area that the devs did not want to spoil in the first gameplay livestream from last year, so nice to see some more in-game footage of it. But not long after we arrive at Hogwarts, we know that Professor Weasley will provide us with the fielding guide. This appears to have all of its pages burst in this scene at some point and scattered around, which is possibly a way to explain why we have to retrieve them from all over the place. What if something bad happened because of our ancient magic, it explodes, and then we have to retrieve them to learn that knowledge? Not going to lie, that would be a really immersive and impressive way of introducing us to collectibles. Also, fun fact, we see this brown spotted owl flying away from the player in one of the gameplay shots. Well, if you compare this with the same one in the cinematic trailer, it's basically the exact same one. This is likely what we'll see dropping by when we get the acceptance letter. This is probably the player character owl that delivers us all the mail in Hogwarts, and possibly a lot more than that. But speaking of some of the professors, in one of the shots we see Professor Weasley also demonstrating what appears to be the transfiguration spell. So does this mean that she also teaches that to us? Because technically speaking, why would she demonstrate it to us if it's not for us to learn it? And especially since some of the other spells are still left unknown, like for example, there's at least one in the yellow category that we don't know the effect of, so maybe it is transfiguration. I'm saying that because similarly we see Professor Hackett teaching the students how to use Levioso in a different class. Funny enough, she demonstrates Levioso on Leander Prewitt, which is the same student we can challenge to a round of Summoner's Court just outside of the Hogwarts castle very early on in the game, or at least that was possible in the demos. By far the most shocking to me is the fact that there is a unicorn being teased during one of these classes. I'm not sure what this class is all about, but we can finally get a full-on hint of one in the game. So here's hoping that they can also be acquired as mounts. There's also a wider view over here of the same class, which also appears to include other magical creatures, like I believe this one is the Diricol, the teleporting dodo bird. I'm not sure if it's the exact same model, but it seems to be based on it. In any case, more class changes can be seen throughout the trailer, and some are actually very cool. The shots of our introduction to the Charms class looks much more cinematic, with much better shadows, ambient occlusion, and overall a much better looking atmosphere than what was possible in the old reveal footage. The only thing missing here is the huge hourglass in the left corner, or at the very least it's been replaced with a much smaller one. Similar changes can be seen during Professor Garlick's Herbology class, with a clearly better ambient illumination, likely powered by ray-traced shadows and light, as the windows now almost glow with the light being diffused in the background compared to the old footage. So way more cinematic, way better, but this is also likely the quality preset. By far my favorite change in style is that the one showing the grab horn. Previously it seemed to have happened in a different time of day, but now it looks like there's a lot more fog in the background. Maybe it's a little bit closer to nighttime, or whatever happens in this scene, it just looks a lot more detailed and better than before, especially that ambience makes it look very cinematic. Towards the end of the trailer though, we get another look at the same dungeon-like area we've seen footage of before, and it seems that Professor Fig is involved with helping us a lot more than I initially thought, at least over here. In this one, with the massive statue from before, we now see its continuation as the player takes some kind of magical glowing artifact from the pedestal in front of it. And it looks like to be the same one or similar to the one from the old footage from about a year ago, which similarly plays the same animation, possibly hinting that we get to bring this item back at Hogwarts to study it, or maybe there's multiple others in there that we have to find. And the player can be heard mentioning his special powers, also let him see ancient magic, which I guess this artifact could be one of. Also, I'm pretty sure that what we've just witnessed is someone using the animate object incantation on these statues, which is really awesome. It's the exact same one from the movies, and I kinda like how it is played over here. A lot more menacing actually. So basically these are summoned to protect somebody or someone of great importance, but we're not sure if that is our player character here, because whatever happens next, the same spot eventually ends up summoning these much bigger guardian statue that, yeah, display some kind of magical power coursing through it. And I'm not sure we're gonna stick around to find out for too long, because at some point it looks like it's concentrating its attacks on the goblins instead of our characters right before damaging one of these bigger pillars. So this ends up collapsing a portion of it, which creates a bridge for us on the gap that we can use to plan our escape and run from the goblin attack. Good to note is that we do get to fight some of these statues, so I'm not sure if they are all good or all under our control. It's possible that Rookwood and the goblins could be involved here in some way, like maybe trying to find a secret of their own, which we also happen to stumble upon. However that plays out, there's a lot more in this trailer, with a final one, the shots that I really like of Highwing saving the player. So this has already been like heavily featured in the last few previews, but it looks like at some point we find ourselves trying to rescue a bunch of these majestic beasts, not just Highwing. And just as we're about to jump on one, we're almost close to falling down until Highwing jumps in and saves us. Maybe it's even going to carry us to safety, because I'm pretty sure this would be a very nice way to show a more meaningful connection between the player and Highwing herself, to warrant unlocking her as a mount in the later stages, which we do know it's pretty much confirmed at this point. So yeah, let me know down below if you saw any other things that I missed. Obviously there's lots more shots in the 2-minute trailer that we have, but so far everything looks very exciting. Cannot wait for the game. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and until next time.